Hey guys, welcome to Graffiti Rose Gaming. My name is China M, and today we're going to take a look at The Ghosts of Tsushima. Now this game is a PS4 exclusive, and it's a beautiful work of art in my opinion. However, we're going to take a look at it in relation to power narratives within traditional Chinese art. That being said, we're going to take a look at a lot of interesting and beautifully created art pieces, and we're going to relate them to the actual narrative within The Ghost of Tsushima. Now, one disclaimer is that The Ghost of Tsushima is a fictional retelling of real events, or it's based off of some real events that took place, but it's not exactly how those events happened. That being said, we are going to keep that in mind when discussing some of these art pieces, but overall we're just going to take a look at the beautiful depiction of this world within the game and how it relates to the actual history of that time. That being said, sit back, relax, and let's get started.
Samurai. You are a warrior. I can see that. You trained your whole life for this. And you have won battles that lesser men have called unwinnable, yes? But while you were sharpening your sword, do you know how I prepared for today? I learned. I know your language, your traditions, your beliefs, which villages to tame and which to burn. So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender?
Now, the first piece we're going to discuss is an artwork titled Streams and Mountains Without End by the Northern Song Dynasty makers of China. This piece is interesting in its depiction of skill and how it relates to human existence. Traditionally, this type of art would be presented on a large, vertically hanging scroll. This was to draw importance to the size of the mountains in comparison to people. This type of representation was thought to reflect the Taoist belief, which saw nature as a superior force that by observing, humans can learn humility. However, another way to view the depiction of skill is from the view of powerful people. Therefore, we will discuss this context of power in the next piece. Now, this next piece is unique in its representation of TCA, or traditional Chinese architecture. It's called House Model by the Eastern Han Dynasty makers of China. This ceramic house shows a depiction of the organized structure and familial hierarchies associated within the Confucian tradition of the Han Dynasty. And I know that was a lot I just said, but pretty much Confucian was a belief or idea that focused on a good society and a good government, built on the backs of good people. And it was just an idea that many people at the time believed in and therefore put into play in a lot of their familial hierarchies and the structure of their governments. This ceramic house has multiple levels to it, and each one beautifully displays a popular and intricate architecture. It showcases upturned eaves as well as the bracket system used in many homes and temples built at the time. However, what is truly significant about this piece is the small finials placed on the tips of the roof. The finials I'm talking about are the little flowers that you see on the edges of the rooftop. These finials would have served as a representation of the family's status and class, therefore showcasing the family's power from the outside of their home. Now, this is a recreation of what would have been a real home at the time, and the interesting thing about this ceramic model is that it was created as a burial object. Therefore, it was meant to be buried with the deceased in order to assure that their status would carry with them into death. Now, we just discussed the house model and how the amount of finials on the roof was a visual representation of the family status. Therefore, this picture shows the roof of the Tahijin, or Hall of Supreme Harmony, located within the walls of the Forbidden City in Beijing, China. This roof showcases the intricate design of traditional Chinese architecture, from the extensive bracket system to the curved roof tiles that were meant to simulate bamboo stalks. Now, the Tahijin also happens to be the largest surviving wooden building in China, and this in itself shows how much care and detail was put into the structure. Now, let's move on and discuss the significance of what's on the roof. This roof automatically offers a drastic difference in the representation of class, based on the multiple finials placed along the edges of the roof, therefore showcasing the importance and power of the person living there. Now, anyone who knows about the Forbidden City in China knows that it was once home to an emperor. Therefore, some of the finials depict dragons, which were reserved for only the emperor to showcase on his dwelling. This way, everyone could see from the outside how significant, important, and powerful this person was. Okay, I absolutely love this piece. I love the way it is so whimsical and imaginative, but also terrifying in its depiction of scale, as well as the story behind it. You see, this art piece is titled Lions at the Stone Bridge of Mount Tiate by Soga Shahaku, and it depicts the story of a lioness who threw her cubs off the side of a cliff in order to find out which of them was resilient enough. Therefore, if the cubs survived and made it back to her, then they were worthy and deserving. Wow, talk about harsh parenting. Anyway, the way that Shahaku depicts this narrative was actually against the traditional art forms of the time. Shahaku chose to go against the grain and create these unique and mystical artworks that defied tradition, therefore labeling him as a rebel in the eyes of scholars and other artists. But what Shahaku did was follow his own path and forge his own unique legacy. Now, this piece is really interesting, not only in its depictions, but also in the story behind it. This work is titled A Fat and a Thin Horse by Ren Renfa. Now, that title is rather self-explanatory when you take a closer look at the horses in the painting. One horse is emaciated, its ribs are showing, its mane is missing, and it holds its head down in a defeated manner. However, the other horse holds its head high in a proud manner. It's got a full round body, a luscious mane. The fat horse's leash also lays freely on the ground, while the thin horse's leash is wrapped tightly around its neck like a noose. The two horses are complete contrasts of each other, just like the two different dynasties they represent. You see, this artwork was created as a type of defiance art that helped depict the choice that Song loyalists had to make in the wake of the Mongol invasion. Many Song loyalists from the Song dynasty had to decide if they would go along with the new Mongol rule and remain a fat horse, or go against it and become a thin horse. Therefore, this can also be seen as a political piece, as it depicts the pros and cons of switching political sides and embracing a different view. However, it wasn't always that easy due to the amount of losses the Song dynasty suffered during the invasion, along with the discriminative laws that the Mongols put in place. Therefore, this artwork not only shows the hardships that the one side faced, it also shows how power and privilege play a huge role in the overall narrative. Okay, now we're going to move on to discuss the Ghosts of Tsushima and how it relates to all these different artworks that we just talked about. Now, one of the main things that you may be wondering is what all of these artworks had in common. And the one thing that actually stands out amongst all of them is that in some way or another, they're depictions of power and how that power relates to those who hold it. And what I mean by that is in the Ghost of Tsushima, the main character is named Jin Sakai. And throughout the course of the game, you play as Jin and you follow him on this journey of revenge and redemption. You see, towards the beginning of the game, Jin is a samurai on the battlefield fighting against the Mongol invasion coming in off the sea. His whole entire army and the people with him get destroyed. He witnesses everyone die, and then he's left to die himself. And when he awakens and when he comes back, he realizes everything that he has lost, everything that has been sacrificed, everything that has been taken from him. And in this regard, he makes a vow to take it all back. So that is what the story is pretty much of Ghost of Tsushima. It's a story of this man trying to take back the power that was stolen from him. And in doing so, create this legacy for himself and the other people within his country. So although the Ghost of Tsushima is based off of actual events, it is a fictional retelling, and the makers of the game did say that they were greatly inspired by films like Sanjuro and The Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa, who was a film director back in the 1940s through the 1970s, 80s, I believe, and he made amazing films based off of samurais and traditional Japanese culture. And they were beautiful films, and the directors of the game were so inspired by his films that there's actually a mode in the Ghost of Tsushima called the Kurosawa mode. And this mode makes the entire game look like one of his films, like The Seven Samurai. It changes everything to black and white, is very cinematic, very beautiful, and it's really interesting. If you ever get a chance to play the game, then definitely try out that mode. Now, the game of Ghost of Tsushima, aside from the story, which the story is actually really good. I did enjoy it. But the thing that I wanted to also talk about is the beautiful depictions and scenery within the game. I mean, playing this game is like walking through a painting. It's so beautiful. It's so intricate. The details, the colors, everything is just stunning. And that was something that I thought was really interesting because, of course, they were inspired by traditional Japanese art. Traditional Chinese art probably also played a part in that because they pull from a lot of different things. And it's really amazing how they took such care in creating and trying to resemble as close as possible the actual traditional aspects of these things. And I just thought that was really interesting. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything in the game. I'm not going to do that. I do want anyone who's watching this to go and play it for themselves. Also, check out these really amazing artworks as well and just enjoy the comparison between them. But something that I did take from it is, when applying this to your own life, when applying, the aspects of loss and the aspects of power and struggle and class and hierarchies and who's better off than you, who has more than you, who is in a position of higher power than you. There's just so much into that. Government and society as a whole has so many things that we struggle with on a daily basis when it comes to power, when it comes to who gets what and why. It's just so much going on in this world right now. And it's been going on for a long time. As you can see, if there's one thing that history shows us, is that this stuff didn't just happen now. It's been happening. It's still happening. It's not something that just came out of the woodwork a few years ago, or even a few decades ago, or even a century ago. It's been going on for a long, long time. And you see this in examples of what we just spoke about, what the artworks that we showed, a fat and a thin horse, and the differences between the Song and the Mongol dynasties, and how there was a struggle of power and people didn't want to transition over to this new rule. It's understandable in a way, because when you have people coming in telling you what you can and can't do, taking something away from you, your first reaction is not going to be like, I'm going to do everything they say. your first reaction is going to be, I'm gonna fight this. You're not going to take from me what's mine. And that's the basis and the mindset of society. People can't take from us what's ours. And when that happens, a fight is on our hands. And it feels like the history of everywhere is just dipped in blood. And the truth is, it is. It really is. So if you're wondering why this stuff is important and why I chose to speak about this today, then that's one of them. Because it isn't just things that are in the past. It didn't just happen a little while ago or something that happened and now it's over with. It's something that is continuous. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. You know, like and subscribe. I gotta get that out there. I'm gonna be posting videos on a regular basis soon, and it's gonna cover a lot of different topics. I'm really gonna delve into the story aspect of a lot of different games that I truly love. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, you have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Drink water while gaming. It's very important. And I'll check you back later next time.